Hello, everyone. Good evening and welcome. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that is part of almost everyone's daily life. That's social media. Most students use social media to communicate, learn new things, and stay connected with friends and family. However, while it offers many advantages, it also has some disadvantages. It is also known that if you do not use social media in a responsible way, it can be very negative. It can have a very negative impact in your life. So, today in this interview, we'll discuss how social media affects students, what benefits it provides, and what problems it can cause. And obviously, how we can use it in a healthier way. So, let's begin. I'd like to welcome Eric and ask you the first question of today. Please, Eric, how often do you use social media?
Hi, evening. I use social media almost every day, probably several times throughout the day. It's becoming part of my routine because it's one of the easiest way to communicate with my friends and family. I usually check WhatsApp to reply to messages, and I also spend some time on Instagram to see what people are posting or they watch short videos. Sometimes I even use social media to look for educational content, like English lessons or videos that explain topics in interesting. Even though I enjoy using to it, I try to be careful because it's very easy to spend much more time online than you originally planned. That's why I try to set limits, especially when I have homework or other responsibilities.
Thank you, Eric, so much. I know exactly what you mean. Time really goes by quickly when you're using social media, especially on websites, for example, TikTok. If you spend too much time, you can easily spend over an hour. I'd like to continue on with question number two. This time, Yamara, welcome. Here's your question. What are the benefits of social media for students?
Okay, I think social media can be a very useful tool for students if it's used in the right way. One of the biggest advantage is that it makes communication much faster. Students can create group chats to discuss homework, share notes, or remind each other about assignments and exams. It also very helpful because there are so many educational resources available. You can find tutorials, documentaries, language learning videos, and explanation for almost any subject. Personally, if I don't understand something, I usually search for a video online because sometimes it's easier to learn by watching someone explain it. Another benefits is that students can connect with people from different places and learn about others' cultures and perspectives, which can make learning more interesting.
Thank you, Yamara, for your answer. And that's true. Learning doesn't only happen in the classroom anymore, and social media has definitely made information much easier to access, especially nowadays. Well, from the pandemic, we learned that online work and online messaging has helped us stay communicated. All right, finally, well, not finally, let's move on to question number three. Michelle, I'd like to welcome you. And here's a question for you. What are some negative effects of social media?
Even though social media has many benefits, it also has some important disadvantage. One of the biggest problems is that it's very distracting. Sometimes students open an app just to check one message, but then they start watching videos or scrolling through posts for an hours without realizing it. This can affect their grades because they spend less time studying or completing assignments. Mm, Another issue is that many people compare themselves with that they see online. Since most users only share the best moments of their life, it can create unrealistic expectations and make others feel unhappy or insecure. Social media can also affect sleep because many students stay up late using their phones, and that makes them feel tired the next day. I think the key is finding a balance and remember that social media should be part of your life, not your whole life. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. And honestly, I completely agree. Like many things, social media isn't bad by itself. Like alone, social media is not bad. In fact, the creation of social media was due to positive fundamentals. However, it's how we use social media what really matters. Thank you so much, Michelle. Kimberly, welcome. Here's a question for you. How has social media changed the way students communicate?
Hi, Wellington. Well, I think social media has completely changed the way that the students communicate with each other because years ago, the people mostly talk face to face or call each other on the phone, but now we can send messages instantly from anywhere. Students can create a group chat for every class, organize projects, ask questions, and even have video calls if they need help with some homework. It's much faster and more convenient than before. And another positive change is that students can make friends with people from different countries, that which gives them the opportunity to practice other languages and learn about different cultures. However, I also think that many people now depend too much on the online communication because sometimes they spend more time texting than talking with a person in the real life. Or face-to-face conversation are still very important because they help us to develop social skills and stronger relationships. And that's all for me.
Thank you, Kimberly, for your opinion. And honestly, I think that's a very good point. Technology has made communication easier than ever. That's undeniable, but we shouldn't forget the value of personal interaction. And I think social media is one of the main reasons why a lot of introverted students have stayed that way without that social interaction. Thank you so much. Final question. I have one more question, and I would like to ask Eric once again. So, Eric, this question is for you. What advice would you give to students about using social media responsibly?
Yeah, my advice would be to remember that social media it's a tool, and like any tool, it should be used wisely. I think it's important to set limits on the amount of time you spend online so you don't neglect your studies, your hobbies, or the time you spend with your family and friends. I also think students should be careful about the content they consume because not everything you see on social media is true or helpful. It's always a good idea to follow educational page, motivational content, or people who teach useful skills instead on spending hours watching videos that don't really add anything to your day. And finally, I will say that students should compare themselves to what they see online because social media usually shows only the best parts of people's lives. If we use it with balance and responsibility, it can be a very positive and useful part of our daily lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric, and thank you all very much for your answers. Those are excellent suggestions, and I think many students could benefit from following that advice. Well, we've reached the end of our interview. Today, we've learned that social media has become an important part of students' everyday lives. It offers many, many advantages, such as making communication easier, providing access to educational resources, and helping students collaborate and cooperate on schoolwork. But at the same time, it can also create distractions, in a way, affect mental health or people's self esteem, and also reduce the amount of time people spend interacting face to face. And this is going to happen if social media is not used responsibly. The most important message is that social media should help us, not control us. Thank you very much for sharing your opinions, and thank you for everyone for listening. We hope you found this discussion interesting and helpful. Have a wonderful evening. Bye.
Bye.